Hey everybody, I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm sorry, I hit the live button a little too quick when I wasn't really ready. But anyway, my name is the infamous Kiki. Welcome to my channel. Welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is a Sunday. I am in Texas, if you don't know, and it is a lovely, kinda windy, just something to breathe out here. You guys may hear a lot of wind, but I apologize. But I'm gonna try to keep it steady, okay? But I gotta throw some stuff away, y'all. So, like I said, I hit this button live too quickly. So, this is real life here. Real life, real things going on here. I'm gonna lock my car door, and we're gonna talk. As you can see by the video, um, title, we're gonna talk about the Hamburg, Germany shooting. Like I said, it's a little cold out here, y'all. So I do apologize if you hear some wind blowing, but I'm out here trying to get my walk on and I'm really pressed for time. So just thought I'd come and do this video. I may do this video on the inside of my car because it may be a little bit too windy for you guys. So out of respect for my audience, it is very windy out here, y'all. It is very windy. So that's not going to work. So let's do the video inside the car. Let's keep it kosher. Let's keep it frosty. Anyway, welcome to my channel. I'm an infamous Kiki artist, mother, writer. Was in the Wall Street Journal a few times, um, and what else? Entrepreneur and all kinds of things. Just regular person, and also exjw. I am an ex Jehovah's Witness. One of the reasons why I started going on YouTube is posting exjw videos. Like if you'll see in my playlist on my channel, um, you will see a playlist that has XJW stories and stuff like that. Because I started out during the pandemic getting into YouTube because of the things that I'd heard. So let me just give you a brief synopsis. Go and watch the videos if you want to know more. I was not born into the Jehovah's Witness religion. I actually converted at the age of 13. I was the only person, me and my grandmother lived together. My grandmother did not convert. She would go to the Kingdom Hall with me and she did study, but she basically did it as a way of trying to see what was going on and protect me because she didn't understand why her 13-year-old daughter was going to the Kingdom Hall with these strange white people. Look, I'm just being honest. That's the conversations that were had. So my grandmother was very skeptical as to what was going on. So she was like, well, let me check it out. You know, my grandmother grew up Pentecostal. I have a lot of church people. My great grandfather founded churches. I have church all through my family. I have prominent people in black churches that are either married in my family or they have family members that married into, Winans family and stuff like that. So I won't call out any names, but y'all know this stuff better than I do. I'm not really up with the Pentecostal church, but I have family. I on my mom's side of the family, it's very, very churchy. It's very Pentecostal. It's very black church. That's how I grew up in the black church. But I had a lot of questions. So they left some watchtowers. We live in an apartment complex. They left some watchtowers in the laundry room where we would do laundry, and I would just read them because me and my grandmother would go do laundry, and I'd be bored, and I would just read it, and then I found it very interesting. I've always been interested in religion and the Bible and history and all that stuff. Reading, I'm a voracious reader. I had no idea that I was reading Jehovah's Witness stuff. Now I'd heard about Jehovah's Witnesses going door to door, just stuff here and there about people like don't answer the doors Jehovah's Witness, and I never understood why. But I didn't know what I was reading was the Bible. On the back of it, it says Watchtower Bible Tract Society. I had no idea that was the Witnesses until I wrote. They had back in the day on the Watchtowers, they had the back where if you like to get a free Bible, like to get more information. Of course, I wanted a free Bible. So I wrote to them, and the next thing you know, they showed up at my door like a month or two later, and I started studying. I became baptized. I left for a little bit, came back to the Witnesses, and the rest, and then eventually ended up leaving for good. And there's reasons in between all of that. And like I said, you watch my playlist. So I am very schooled on what the witnesses is. I was a witness from the time I was 13 to the time I was about 23, off and on. Like I said, I left for a couple of years and then came back for a couple more years. But altogether, it's about a 10-year period. So, also, I was a witness a really, really long time ago. Like, not a really long time, but back in the 90s, before things started popping off with the shunning and all that. I didn't. So, what drew me back in, I didn't live my worldly life. I'd been married, had kids, didn't even think anything about the witnesses. However, I always felt in my mind that the witnesses, when it came to religions, that the witnesses was the best religion if you're going to be in religious. I'm an atheist. I've been an atheist. But I thought if you're going to believe in God, then the witnesses surely have the best attitude. They're real strict as hell, and I don't agree with that and stuff about homosexuals and all that. But I figure, like, if you're going to be religious, then the ones that aren't hypocrites are Jehovah's Witnesses. All that fell apart in my life until 3 years ago when I started hearing about the abuse scandals. And you have to look those up in your line. Look up Jehovah's Witnesses abuse scandals. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I had no idea that things that people were told not to report, essay, and I was dumb. And then I watched the documentary, and my jaw dropped, and I was like, I cannot believe witnesses. They did what now? Like, I thought it was all a setup. I was like, surely witnesses. And then once I went to go during the pandemic, I got laid off from work. I really started watching these videos, and then I discovered YouTubers, XJW YouTubers out there. There's an XJW community on Reddit, on Facebook, a bunch of them, websites. I had no idea all this stuff was out there. So I went down the rabbit hole for the past 2 or 3 years, and then I started posting videos on this channel talking about my experiences. So that's how I come into it. So on Friday, the other night, Thursday or Friday, just depending on what time zone, in Hamburg, Germany, a man who was an exjw, he had apparently left the religion or got disfellowship. We don't know which one we're hearing either way. 18 months ago, he left the religion. Well, come this week, he went to one of the meetings, Jehovah's Witness meetings, and he went there and shot up the place. He killed 7 people. Then the police zeroed in on him. He ran upstairs, and then he turned around and turned the gun on himself. When this happened, I was in shock. Like, I was in bed. Like I said, everything in my feed is mostly news and politics and history and everything. So when international news, Sky News, German news, Reuters, AP. So when that started pulling up, this has made international news. This has made news here in America, UK, Germany, France, all over. I saw it in Chinese news, everywhere. People are talking about this. The police are still, hey Bobby, what's up? Good Sunday, good Sunday. I'm so happy you're here, my dear. So the police have been getting more information. Like I said, this just happened Friday or Thursday night, however time zone you in. And so it has been a tragedy. It has definitely been a tragedy. This has shook the XJW community. And I've had my own problems with the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. I used to be on the Reddits and the Facebook groups and belong and started out innocently enough, but then I realized that the XJW community, and I know a lot of y'all are gonna come to this video and y'all gonna don't y'all can come for me, that's fine. But y'all know I've had problems with the XJW community. If you watch some of my old videos, that it started out all good, but then some of y'all still have that Jehovah's Witness mindset. Y'all have left the religion, y'all have left the watchtower, but y'all still have that mentality. And I've been so far removed from that mentality. And some of y'all, you got different people in these groups. Some people just left. Some people left 20 years ago. Some people left a couple of years ago. Some people born in it. Some people not born in it. So there's different levels to this ish when it comes to being an XJW. But this man decided that he was obviously disturbed and deranged. More news has come out since then. So the police did a press conference the other day on Friday. And more news come out. This guy had written a whole book called God, Satan, and something is God, the devil, and Satan, or God, Jesus, and Satan, or something like that. You can. I'll post links in the description once I get through editing this video about the news article I read, and I've read several articles about. So this guy published a whole book, and then people are saying that when he published the book, that's the reason why he got a talking to by the elders. And then the book is about of the apocalypse and living with living in the cloud with ghost people. Like, People said it's crazy. But I'm finna tell you right now, when I read the description of the book, I'm just sitting there going, okay, what is that? How is that crazy? It's not that far from the Jehovah's Witness indoctrination. So people are reading it thinking, oh, it's just the mumblings of a mad person. But really, what the dude wrote a book basically on what he's been taught as a Jehovah's Witness. Um, because Jehovah's Witnesses do believe that the apocalypse is coming and that God's gonna come down and kill everybody except for Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, and again, a lot of people don't know this. I told my mom this, and she was like, "What?" Yeah, because Jehovah's Witnesses think that they have the one true religion, so they think that everybody who is not a witness, that when Armageddon hits, that the only people that's gonna be saved is people who are Jehovah's Witnesses. So I don't understand. I'm looking at the description of this dude's book, and I'm just like, they got mad at him because of that. There has to be something more than him just writing a book about the apocalypse and because other Jehovah's Witnesses have written things. Not in this guy's book, it didn't go anywhere. It wasn't like he was a best-selling author or anything like that. It was just something he published independently. I'm sure some people read, and again, I haven't read it. The German publisher has since taken it down because it was published online, and he's since taken it down. But I promise you, some of you clever people out here in the interwebs has got it and probably screenshotting it right now as I speak and putting it on the internet. But what he was saying was, I'm like, how's that any different from Jehovah's Witnesses' beliefs? That just and then the people in the news and the major news stories are like, well, we don't understand why he did this. Because when you leave the Jehovah's Witness, you leave. If you're born and raised in it, I'm not sure if this man is born and raised in it. There's a lot of rumor and a lot of allegedly. So a lot of stuff I said is allegedly what I'm hearing out in these YouTube XJW streets. That he was definitely born into it. And if you're born into it and you leave the religion or you get disfellowship, you lose your entire family. Your entire family will stop talking to you, boo. Your friends will stop talking to you, boo. So if you're taking somebody who's already mentally and emotionally fragile, which this guy had problems with his former employer, he hadn't worked since 2020 supposedly. So apparently he was having issues um, getting a job or self-sustaining himself, being gainfully employed. And then there's just evidence of just him just being kind of thrown off. And so obviously this man had some sort of mental health issues, which that's another thing we can talk about. Let's talk about that. People are like, well, if he was so crazy and went to the congregation, Jehovah's Witness congregation, and he was mentally unstable, why didn't he go get help? Because folks, as a Jehovah's Witness, you are discouraged from getting psychological help. You're encouraged to go to the elders and seek help from them and pray to Jehovah, of course, and use the Bible. But to get outside independent psychological help, it's not something you're going to get disfellowship. Which, when I say disfellowship, is what you guys would consider excommunication. I think some of you guys have been Catholic or Mormon, so y'all know what excommunication means. Disfellowship, basically, Jehovah's Witness term, means that you are separated from the church. You're not allowed to go to meetings, or you've left, or some reason the religion has kicked you out due to some type of moral misconduct or breaking of the rules, something major. Usually they talk to you a few times first before they just disfellowship you. So but the idea that this man is seeking psychological help wouldn't have been encouraged by the witnesses because, again, when I was a witness and talking to ex-witnesses who have left recently, that has not changed. Back in the day, it was not. It was thoroughly discouraged to get psychological help. They thought that getting psychological help was something very worldly. And when I say worldly in Jehovah's Witness terms, if you're a Muslim, it's haram. Haram is a Muslim term. Worldly means something that is outside of the Jehovah's Witness religion. That's bad. That's a bad connotation. So if you have a worldly spirit, if you're listening to worldly music, that means you're listening to music that is very modern, very hip, I'm giving examples. Worldly movies, that's movies produced, by non-Jehovah's Witness entities, which is mostly everything. So really, if you break it down to, you put two and two together, mostly everything is worldly. When you come to become a Jehovah's Witness, everything is worldly. Um, So the idea that he left the religion 18 months ago, this man did. He was only 35 years old, but like I said, he was mentally unstable. But getting help as a Jehovah's Witness, that's, I mean, he may have talked to the elders. I don't know. Um, the elders may have talked to him about certain things that behaviors or things he may have said. I don't know. But we don't know that yet. That's just, I'm just thinking how it normally goes. But yes, it's never encouraged for you to go and go seek a psychologist. Even though I knew Jehovah's Witnesses back in the day who on the cool, who on the down low went and got help and didn't tell anybody and got put on medication because they were severely depressed. They had severe issues. And then on top of that, being like I said, I'm gonna say things that are my opinion, and it's gonna ruffle some people's feathers. If you are a Jehovah's Witness watching this, being a Jehovah's Witness is stressful. Being a Jehovah's Witness is very stressful. You know, there's meetings. You have to go to meetings twice a week. You have to go preach go knock door to door on the weekends. There's a certain amount of hours you have to put in. Yes, there's quotas. How many hours you got to put in per month? These are things that regular people do not know. Then there's doctrination. There's no sex before marriage. There's no masturbation. If you're homosexual or gay, you can be gay, you can be attracted to the opposite sex, but you can't act on it. So that means you can't have a boyfriend, you can't have a girlfriend, you can't have any homosexual relationships. So basically, you're going to be a eunuch or a celibate for the rest of your life. Okay, let's see how that goes. So then a lot of people end up living a double life. You can't date somebody who's not a witness. You can't be unevenly yoked with unbelievers, which means you can't be friends with people who are not witnesses, especially if you are a baptized witness. Because you're baptized, you're on another tier. There's people that start out studying, and kids, they're not baptized yet. But once you get older, your baptism is a symbolizing of you giving your spirit and your mind and your heart and everything over to Jehovah. So once you really in it when you come baptized. So there's more expectations, especially being a man. Jehovah's Witness religion is very sexist. There's no women preachers. Women can't wear pants to the meetings. Yeah, we still on that. Yeah. In most countries, like I said, I've seen some other countries, but they will have a talking to you about proper attire in the Lord's house, all that, all that. It's not easy, like I said, and to be raised in it as a child and the expectations behind that, it's unbelievably stressful. And then God knows what this man is going through. Maybe he had issues with his sexuality. Again, this is just me. This is allegedly. This is not stated in the magazine articles. This man may have had issues, mental health issues, then issues with the religion. They said he was angry at the religion. He was angry at his job. He lost his job. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses for him, because no matter how much I feel about the Jehovah's Witness, and my experiences are pretty mundane. Like, I know people that were in this religion that have lost their entire families once they left. They've lost their marriages, their kids, their grandkids. I know people that have self-harmed themselves. I do know people personally. I know 3 people who, ex-YouTubers, exjws that have unalived themselves. Okay, so you know, that's a thing. But despite how I feel, I don't agree with him shooting up and murking innocent people. Heck no. You deal with your shit. You deal with your mental health issues, and either you leave the religion and move on, and it's hard, and get support. There's help out here. For XJWs, there's help out here. I'm gonna leave links. There's help out here. If you're thinking about leaving, if you have to have a plan. You can't just up and just willy-nilly. You have to have a plan. You have to make yourself that you are financially, emotionally, and mentally ready to leave this religion and understand what it means for you leaving. As your family will stop talking to you. It's called shunning. Look it up. People said that this man was shunned. You will lose your entire family. Your parents will stop talking to you. They will say that you're spiritually dead. Your brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, grandkids, if they are in this religion, they will stop talking to you. So you have to be prepared for that. Some people be in denial, like, well, my family not gonna do that, and they leave, and then boom, they get blocked on Facebook. Their number is blocked. They call and it's like do do do. Like, people really get naive to the fact that, oh, my family wouldn't do that to me. They do. They do that. Now, is shunning a Dyed in the wool religious practice? No, not really. Not really. It is, but it ain't. It's kind of like a culture. You know how every religion has a culture. So the culture of Jehovah's Witness is like you can't be unevenly yoked with unbelievers, which that's in the Bible. But then on top of that, anybody who leaves the religion or gets who gets kicked out because of misconduct, then it's kind of like it's like double fold. It's like that person is like they treat them worse than they treat the devil. It's like you were in the religion, you had the truth, and then you left the truth. So that's worse than somebody who didn't know the truth at all. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? Like ex Jehovah's Witnesses, they know what I'm saying. They like, yeah, girl, yeah. So, it's a no-win situation. It is a no-win situation. You have to be prepared and you have to get help. I tell XJWs all the time who are out there, XJWs who are watching this video, please get help. There is no way in hell you can be indoctrinated in this cult and think that you're going to escape with your mentality intact. You're fooling yourself. I wasn't raised in it. I was not raised in it. Like I said, I converted. But I can imagine having your whole life, your whole family, and everything in this religion, being taught since a kid, and then disagreeing with it, or getting disfellowship, and really think that you're gonna escape out of this as a full, sane, natural person. Yeah, they almost like the Amish. Yeah, but they're allowed to have electricity and running water, and you're allowed to work. And Jehovah's Witnesses, they're all around us. Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll be your coworkers. I have my sister-in-law. She works with the Jehovah's Witness girl, and they were talking about it. And they live amongst us. Jehovah's Witnesses, they maybe your next door neighbor, maybe some witnesses. So it's not like the Amish where they have to be totally separate from society in that way. But socially, yes, socially, Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to socialize with people who aren't witnesses. Marriage, I'm not allowed to marry people who aren't witnesses. So yeah, they may be cool with you at work. I went to school. I went to school with other witnesses. I was a witness going to school. I'm sure my kids go to school with some kids of the witnesses, but then you don't celebrate holidays. So just imagine the bullying and the looks and the things you receive in school. I have some XJW people I know who were mercilessly bullied in school because they were part of some weirdo religion that couldn't celebrate holidays and everybody thought they were weird anyway. And kids made fun of them because of the way they dressed, the way they talked, because they weren't hip on certain musics and TV shows. Because Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't let their kids watch certain things and stuff like that. So they were made fun of, mercilessly bullied. I wasn't bullied like that as a kid because I was a witness. No, I didn't experience like being bullied. I was shy introvert anyway, so I kept to myself. But a lot of kids found it very isolating, especially when you go to a Jehovah's Witness church or Kingdom Hall congregation where there's not that many kids there your age. So you really feel isolated. Um, as a kid, I felt very isolated. Like I said, and I converted. So I felt very isolated at 13 years old. I didn't mind giving up the holidays and all that. I didn't mind that. I still don't mind it now. I'm not really big into holidays now. Like I like Halloween, I like Christmas, but other than that, we don't do Easter. We don't really do 4th of July in my house. And that's a holdover from me being a witness, just learning that I don't have to deal with it. Like, okay, that's less things I got to spend money on. It's full of commercialism anyway. But being a child and not experiencing that, I mean, they come to my house twice and never came back after that second visit. Bobby, what you do to them witnesses? And yes, the kids are taken along to preach. Like I said Jehovah's Witnesses would make it so much easier on their religion if they would just adopt certain things and modernize their religion. They would make it easier for people to stay. But from what I know, since social media started, people have been leaving in droves, y'all. People have been leaving. Like once social media came and people can get on the internet and start realizing that my experience is this person's experience, is that person's experience. Oh, you experienced that too? Oh, I experienced that too. Oh my God. I don't like going door to door. You don't like door? I hated going door to door. I hated it. Because, I'm a shy person, so I hated going door to door and talking to people. And you never know what you're going to get. People slam the door in your face. People cuss you out. Like, I was 14 years old, and they were like, okay, there you go, Kiki. Go knock on your first door. And I'm like, I'm 14 years old, and I'm going to knock on the door. And Now they've changed it to where they have like online ministry, letter writing ministry. So they have different outlets now than just door to door. But door to door is still their bread and butter. It's still what they do. But it was very hard for me. It was very very hard for me, being introverted and being a witness. And then, like I said, there's just the culture of being a witness is very hard. And but they don't make it easier. There's no Sunday school and witness. My mom was asking. Mom was like, how did people talking about the kids were running and screaming? My mom was like, kids? What are the kids doing there? Don't they have Sunday school? No, Jehovah's Witnesses don't have no Sunday school. They don't have like a little separate thing for where the kids can go. And like I grew up in a Pentecostal church, so what made Pentecostal church fun was Sunday school. And there's different words for it in different religions, but they have children's church or Sunday school, whatever you want to call it. There's just an area where there's a teacher and the kids sing hymns and they talk about God and nature and ducks and just stuff like that. And then with Jehovah's Witnesses not doing any holidays, because usually come Easter, come certain holidays, it's a time for everybody in the current, the church to come together and celebrate, Christmas or Easter or 4th of July or whatever it is. Jehovah's Witnesses don't have that. They do have conventions. They have conventions like where, well, they used to. A lot of the conventions are online because of the pandemic. But they had conventions where people would go into this, small convention center, and then they would listen to talks, and people would, it's like a religious convention like they do in other Baptist conventions, and stuff like that. And so they have those like 4 times a year. They have a big one in the summer, and then they have smaller ones like by area, like by state or by area. So they have those. But, but the fellowship of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's just not there. There's no church band, at least not in America. I don't know what I've heard some other things in other countries, but I know in America there was no church band. There was no, there's no gospel music. There's none of that. There's no people. There's no choirs up there singing. Like I had to explain this to people that Jehovah's Witness is very dry. It's very dry. Like if you going in thinking you finna sing some gospel, hear some gospel, you're not gonna hear that there. If you think you're gonna see a church band, matter of fact, playing an instrument is discouraged. Like, oh, they're playing an instrument, lifting weights, going to college. All of these things are discouraged being a Jehovah's Witness culturally. Like Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in higher education. Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in you pursuing a career, anything outside the religion. You have to really put the religion first. And like I said, that is a lot for somebody who already has emotional mental health issues, maybe issues with their sexuality, maybe they're living a double life. I don't know what this man was going to, but it's a lot. And to read the news articles, and I just sit back and I kind of like snicker because I'm like, y'all have no idea what these people writing these articles obviously have not talked to XJWs. They have no idea what the hell is going on. They're like, why would he do this? What happened? Da, da, da. Only one article I read where they talked about shunning. Because, in Norway, Jehovah's Witnesses gotten in trouble because Norway, they did a whole court thing saying that shunning was inhumane, that it was violating people's humanity and people's human rights. Thank you, Norway. Thank you. But because the idea of shunning is basically keeping people in the religion, y'all. Because I said, if I was in the religion, I was born and raised in it, and let's just say I stayed in it and I raised my kids in it. If my kids were adults or grown or teenagers, and I knew if I left this religion that I would lose my children, I wouldn't leave. I know people, so there are people called PIMOs, physically in, mentally out, PIMO. So that's a thing, that's a term that we all use, XJWs. There are people who are anonymously online that still go to the meetings. Some people high up in the witness hierarchy who don't believe in the teachings anymore. They like, I don't believe in this shit no more. I don't do this. I don't, they go through the motions. Because if I leave, I lose my wife. If I leave, I lose my kid. That's how this religion mentally, emotionally manipulates people into staying in. Because when I was in it, shunning was not a big thing. I was told in the late 90s and the early 2000s, once I had already left, that shunning became more of a thing. more of a thing that people started to do, and the elders started to talk about on Sundays about not letting, getting, associated with people who got the spirit of Satan, the spirit of the world in them, or whatever, whatever. Then they started that. Because before, in the 90s, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, I know people had friends that left and they still kept in contact with them. They still met for lunch, and I was shocked that shunning was a thing. Like I said, 3 years ago, I found out about the sex abuse and the shunning. That floored me because, again, when I left, shunning was not a thing. You could still associate, not all the time, but you could still talk to people and try to bring them back to the religion and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But when it comes to your family, everybody I knew of had an aunt that used to be a witness that left, had an uncle that used to be a witness that left, had a friend that left. As long as she wasn't a crackhead, as long as your friend or family member wasn't out, doing drugs and running the streets, and as long as they weren't out doing grossly immoral things, they were hooking on the side. They not hooking. She not a hooker, is she? No, my aunt just left the religion. She still works. She's still a nurse at her job, and she's still raising her kids, and she's still the same person. But she just left the religion. You can still be cool with them, as long as they weren't out there doing just crazy shit. Is she doing pornography now? No, like as long as they weren't doing something crazy, you can still have dinner with them. You can still invite them over for a family dinner, and you can still talk to them on the phone and be like, "Hey, Auntie, how you doing? The memorial's coming up. Hey, you want to come to the memorial?" I know plenty of people that still talk to their relatives. So I was told into the 2000s, then they really started amping up the shunning, the idea that you can't talk to these people at all if they leave at all. And I was like, wait, what? I said, no, that's not how I remember it. And people were like, well, that's because you left just as they were starting this shit. So this guy was probably, so I just, I get on here to try to tell people that, like, the news media don't know what's going on because they're not talking to the XJW community, or if they are, they're not reporting on it. But the shunning is real. That may have driven this guy to do that. He left the religion 18 months ago. So that's number one. Number two, having a mental health issue is going to see a psychologist in some cultures of Jehovah's Witnesses. But all the way around, from what I know of, it is something that is frowned upon. If you are going to a psychologist, you better not tell nobody that you're going to a psychologist. Hi, GSP. What's up? It's a happy Sunday. I'm glad everybody's here. So, yeah, if you are going to get psychological help, you better not tell nobody you're going to get psychological. It's frowned upon. Higher education is frowned upon. It seemed like this man seemed to be educated or wanted to be educated. There's no really indication that he had any kind of higher learning or anything. So I don't know. Maybe he was a hero in his own story. Maybe he was great in his own mind. But higher education is frowned upon. Being a witness, they just expect you to just devote most of your time. It's hard to have a career and go to college and do all stuff, and then going to meetings 2 and 3 times a week. It's hard to do that and going door to door. It's a hard thing to do. Then there's if you go into college, you're associating with more worldly people. They don't want that either. So that's a hard thing. Maybe this guy wanted to be educated. Maybe he was semi-educated and something happened. I don't know. Um, and then the other thing, they were saying this guy may have struggled with his sexuality. That is a big thing in Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't let you to be gay. You can't be gay and be a witness. You're going to be celibate for the rest of your life. So you can be attracted to the same sex, but you cannot act upon it. Oh, GSP said she grew up around a lot of Jehovah's. I could tell by the things you were saying to me. I was like, she knows some witnesses because she knows her stuff. So this man may have struggled with his sexuality. And like I said, I think the biggest thing, and in the book that he wrote about the apocalypse and God and Jesus, that wasn't too far off from what witnesses indoctrination believe. So I don't believe that's the reason why he was disfellowshipped or talked to or left, is because he wrote a book that was published on the internet. It wasn't like he was Dan Brown. It wasn't like he was writing the Passion of the Christ or some shit. Like it wasn't even that serious. It may have been something the elders may have talked to him about, because Jehovah's Witnesses are not about attention seeking and seeking worldly pleasures, and maybe they thought he wanted to become an author. It may have been a lead up of a bunch of little things that led him to leave. But we'll come out, and I'll do another video as we get more knowledge. But I just, the things that I'm reading online from mainstream news medias who are like, I don't understand why there's no motivation why he would do this and da, 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 da. And then no, the guy had no criminal history. He wouldn't. Most Jehovah's the Witnesses aren't committing crimes. They keep steer clear of the law. He had no history of mental health. Somebody did drop the dime on him and sent an anonymous letter to the police saying that he was unhinged and he had these guns. And the police came and investigated. They couldn't find any misconduct, so they just let it go. They're like, "What do you expect us to do? We can't arrest a guy just for having guns." Yeah, yeah, he wasn't L. Ron Hubbard child. I mean, he was trying it, but but yeah, they police did investigate him back in January, and they didn't find anything wrong. Like somebody had dropped a dime on him, but they didn't find anything in his house. They looked through his house, and they didn't find. They was like, okay, there's nothing here. They investigated his guns. They told him he had to keep the ammo in a safe or some shit. Because Germany has some of the most strictest gun laws like in the westernized countries. They have some of the most strict gun, and they're fixing to get stricter because Germany don't play. They had a shooting a couple of years ago where some teenagers shot up something and did something. I was barely reading about that, but this is devastated Hamburg, Germany. They said this is they haven't experienced anything like this in decades. They like, we are not America. We are not you silly, damn silly Americans with y'all shootings and all this shit. They don't deal with that in other countries. Other countries don't deal with all this. They just don't. They just don't. And so people are perplexed as in Germany are questioning, how could this happen? Why could this happen? Oh, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're so, benign and they don't do nothing to nobody. No, they don't. No, they don't. The Jehovah's Witnesses don't get in trouble. You don't see them, anything like that. But Bobby said, wait a minute. No college or higher learning association with other religions, no holidays. So what do they witness? What they Jehovah's Witnesses, they proselytize. When they knock on the door, they are trying to convert people over to the one true religion. And then, just like all of these high control religions, they will love bomb you. So that when you first start talking to witnesses and studying, they'll be attentive and kind. They'll love bomb you. They invite you to their meetings, which is church services with what average people call church services, but Jehovah's Witnesses, they call it meetings. And they will invite you on Sunday to come and listen. And then, and, it's just, it was, like I said, I grew up in a Pentecostal church, so it was very different. It was a difference that I liked. It's a difference that some people do not like. I liked it. It was quiet. It was calm. I don't like the Pentecostal church with all the hooping and the hollering and the screaming and the speaking of tongues. I don't do all that. I'm not extra like that. And I like the singing in church. Like I like the gospel choir. That was one of the few things I actually liked. My grandmother was heavy in church. They try to revert you backwards. What they love bomb you. They bring you in and they be like, because a lot of times people come in with religious questions. Why does God allow suffering? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why am I struggling with this? Like people have questions, just like anybody else has questions about existential questions about God and religion and the Bible. Why does the Bible say this and says this? Jehovah's Witnesses is like, we got the answers for you. And like I said, I was seeking answers, normal normative ones, because when I was in church and I would raise my hand as a little girl, I was a little girl, I was 8, 9 years old in Pentecost church going, wait a minute, that don't sound right. Wait a minute, why is the Bible and why is God in the Old Testament talking about he gonna smite thee and strike you down to hell, but then in the New Testament he's kind of a little different and he was talking about love and forgiveness. I didn't understand. I said, so there's two different gods. What is happening? If Jesus really did come down here to save people's sins, why is people still sinning? Why ain't Jesus saving us right now? Like they would be like, shut up. They was like, little girl, go sit down somewhere. Little girl, what? They were like, little girl, what? Go sit down. You know. Yeah, they celebrate well because Christmas. And Jehovah's Witnesses. People are saying, well, Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in Jesus. Of course they believe in Jesus. Like Jehovah's Witnesses believe in Jesus heavy, but not Christmas. And I get it because again, the only I'm not religious. So I'm an atheist. To me, Christmas itself, if you take the Jesus factor out of it, it vibes with me. I'm in the tree and all that. But I understand that their Jehovah's Witnesses are ahead of their time because they understand that a lot of these holidays are just made up. That a lot of that people didn't made this shit up. And I knew that even before I became a witness. I was sitting there going, well, Christ couldn't have been born in December because that don't make no sense. And then why the Roman gods got a holiday on December 25th? Wasn't that the day of Dionysus? Let's not talk about that. Basically what the Romans did, they combined a lot of their holidays and their celebrating. And I knew Easter, like Easter, I would ask as a kid, what's the hell the bunny in it? Isn't this a fertility, right? My kids call Easter, the fertility day. Yeah, because eggs and bunnies has to do with pagan shit. It has nothing to do with Christ. But Jehovah's Witnesses understood that. And so they were ahead of their time because they've been preaching this since the 50s. They've been telling people that all these holidays are fake, which they is. They just made up for commercialism. I mean, Easter is a big time for commercialism. Valentine's Day, all this shit is just made for people to get money. Like people like yours truly. Like I'm not hating because God knows. I have Easter stuff. I have Christmas stuff that I sell. But I understand, I sell to the masses. But do I believe in that? No. Do my kids celebrate Easter? They do not. My kids is like, it's another day for them. It's not, if we became pagans and we did fertility rites, I'll be out there with the eggs talking about fertility. Yeah, Santa Claus is pagan too. So Jehovah's Witnesses, they preach against anything that's paganism. Anything. They like, nah, that's pagan. That's pagan. So they don't believe in none of it. And they're not the only ones. There's other religions that don't do certain holidays, other cultures. Like if you go to Japan in the East, they have really weird traditions for holidays. Like in Japan, they eat fried chicken, they eat KFC on Christmas. Like it's a United States, because Japan was occupied by the United States for a while, so it's a whole thing. But other cultures do other things. A lot of cultures don't do Halloween. Like a lot of cultures, like I talk to people in Canada, and they just like. A lot of Indians, a lot of Arabs, a lot of Africans do not do. Good morning, Nisi G. Oh my God, good morning, girl. A lot of different cultures don't do Halloween. Halloween is a very Eurocentric. Samhain is a very Eurocentric pagan kind of holdover thing from the Europeans, which is ain't nothing wrong with that because Halloween's my favorite. Samhain, I fucks with Samhain hard. So as almost a pseudo, more like a pseudo pagan. I don't believe in the mystical, magical part of it, but I like the histocracy of paganism. Like I like the historical elements. I like the historical elements of African spirituality and African paganism. Like I love all of that. I like the historical value of it. I'm not into the spiritual mumbo jumbo of it. I'm not into that. But I understood what the witnesses were trying to say. They're trying to do, and that's one thing I do respect about them sticking to their guns with the holiday. All the rest of the stuff, the non-sex, the sexual things, I don't agree with at all. I don't agree with at all. Because I'm telling you, the number one thing that get people effed up in this world is sexual repression. Sexual repression will have people just going losing their, especially men. Like I'm not trying to dog on men. I'm not trying to be sexist. But the sexual repression thing for human beings is bad. For men, it seems even worse. A lot of these young boys that are going around mass shooting and shooting up things because they can't get no girl, they can't get no woman, they sexually frustrated, they feel like they rejected by women. A lot of these people have these things that has a lot to do with women. Has a lot to do with them not being able to get a woman, find a woman. Like it's the incel shit for me that's going on in this country. And other places all over the world. It's not just here. But people in America, they date extra. They do the most. But there are people in other countries that are having the hard time dating and navigating socially because social media has basically ruined it all. Social media is not something that I don't do. I don't let them on Instagram. I don't let them on Twitter. I think it is all psychologically and mentally damaging. And I tell my kids that all the time. My kids go on YouTube. They watch cute little videos on YouTube with cats and people and funny stuff. YouTube is about it because their mama's on YouTube. So I can't be too much of a hypocrite, y'all. But I think social media is a double-edged sword. It has allowed people to come together. Like I said, it's allowed lots of people to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses in droves. It's allowed the exjw community for us to come together, which I belong to sometimes part-time. And then on top of that, sexual repression make you lose your mind. But a lot of times, social media has hurt and hurt a lot of people and hurt society in a big way. I can't wait till the day that people will finally get it that social media needs to be banned or heavily regulated. I'm just like, if y'all want to ban it, go ahead and ban it. I don't care. But yeah, sexual repression will make people lose their mind. So, um, being a Jehovah's Witness is all about sexual because you can't masturbate, y'all. You can't masturbate. Can't masturbate. So you can't have sex before marriage, y'all. So a lot of you witnesses marry early. A lot of these people who marry early are not equipped mentally, emotionally to marry early. They just, bye bye Bobby. Thank you for coming. But a lot of people can't handle it. A lot of witnesses. I saw a lot of witnesses getting married at 17 and 18 years old. I saw a lot of that. And then they had kids early, and then they were not equipped emotionally or mentally to handle a marriage or handle children or handle raising children. They just got married out of lust. Out of lust. I'm just gonna be honest. A lot of them got married out of lust. Oh, you're not leaving. Oh, okay. But oh, sorry, but you said I'm out. I'm like, okay. Oh, Bobby said, I guess you're saying I'm out like you enjoying that religion if y'all. Your Bobby's like, I can't be in this religion. I'm quitting today. But yeah, it's something that you're taught that God wants you to be celibate, that God wants you to be, that looking at pornography is a sin, masturbation is a sin, sex before marriage is a sin, even looking at nudity in a movie or a TV show, that would have you on your knees praying to Jehovah for forgiveness. Like all of that is a sin. So just imagine, you're being full of testosterone and womanly angst. And so it is pushed in the Jehovah's Witnesses to get married early. I mean, to keep you, because fornication gets you disfellowship, y'all. If they find out you having sex with somebody else in the congregation, they'll bring y'all both in, tell y'all to stop. If y'all get caught again, they'll disfellowship. They'll kick you out the church for that shit. And then but then you can only marry a witness. You can only date a witness. So yeah. My Lord help me to be fruitful and multiply. Damn right. Hey, what pulls my teeth? Nancy G said, "Where's she ascended in?" Girl, I'm telling you, when I was a witness, when I was a witness, I wasn't doing anything though. I wasn't fornicating. I wasn't having sex before. I didn't do all that. I didn't until I left. I didn't do all that. And then if I did touch myself, I repented heavily, and I got on my knees and read the Bible and prayed to Jehovah that He would forgive me. That's not too bad. But there are some people that, like I said, I have a whole Jehovah's Witness playlist for the people that will tell you about some of the freaky deaky stories that I've experienced from people who, and Jehovah's Witnesses have had issues with the SA thing, with sexual abuse. And so, there's that. And in the congregation and the cover up behind it and all of that. And then not the way they do homosexuals is light compared to other religions. It's not as bad. But homosexuality is considered definitely a sin, but only if you act on it. So there's plenty of homosexuals who are Jehovah's Witnesses. Some of them may watch this video, but they are told that you can be attracted to the same sex, but you just can't act on it. So you just can't have sex or have relations or date anyone of the same sex. So either you gotta find a woman or a man to date and live a lie, or you just gotta be celibate. And there have been some men that I've suspected that have been closeted homosexuals that have high up positions as witnesses, that sit on boards and sit on national councils and all kinds of stuff, that I suspect that they're very much gay men and gay women that have never gotten married, and they're like, I'm just giving it all to Jehovah and I haven't found that right person yet. Come on now. Come on now. Like, let's just tell the truth. But yeah, I just came here to say hi to everybody. I appreciate everybody being here and giving my insights about being a witness and how I felt about this fool up here shooting up stuff. And I don't, like I said before, I don't agree with what he did. There's no excuse for him killing innocent people. I don't know if the people that he shot at were somebody he had beef with, because 4 men died and 2 women and an unborn fetus. And that was just tragic. So I don't know, maybe he was aiming for somebody, he was aiming for some of the elders. Today's offering, yeah, make sure y'all hit that like button, please, when you come and hit that like button. So I don't know what axe to grind he had, but I'm afraid of copycats, y'all. Like, I'm really, honestly, a lot of us in the XJW community had this, and I'm gonna give links to some other people's channels because a lot of people's XJW community, they have not talked about this. Like, they are not. I don't understand. I was like, y'all are not talking about the Hamburg shooting, or a lot of them are afraid to talk about it. Some of them are not talking about it because I'm. They've told me secretively that they agree with it. So that's another a revelation for Sunday today. Some of the people ain't said nothing about it because they are like they agree with it. They was like, well, yeah, it's tragic and blah blah blah, but they were like they were making excuses for this shooter, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna make excuses for this crazy person. I'm gonna explain as to why I think he did it. You know, he was probably shunned, mentally unstable, and all that. But some of these people, yes, yes, some of these XJW people I've talked to on the cool, who are I won't say any names, but the reason why they're not talking about it on their channels is because they don't know what to say and how to tactfully say what they really feel. And then I had XJW Critical Thinker, which is two African American. Well, there's not a lot of us out here. There's not a lot of African American XJWs with channels. I only know like of 3 or 4 of us out here, but there's a channel that I'm gonna put a link to, and they did a whole hour long live on it, and it was talking about with their feelings and respectful about the victims and everything like that. But a lot of my XJW channels that I go to this channel and that channel and this channel, and they're not talking about it. I was like, well, we just gonna ignore it and we're gonna pretend that this didn't happen? Like, what? Why are y'all not talking about this? It's bizarre. It's like nobody wants to really talk about this, and I'm like, why? Are y'all afraid of channel strikes? Like, I'm not afraid. Some of these people have a lot of followers, so I know 2 channels. Lloyd Evans, my boy Lloyd Evans. Oh, my boy Lloyd Evans. Lloyd Evans is hilarious, but he's out of town, and he even did a video and said he, condolences to all the victims, that he understands that most of us are this is violence is never the answer. If you leave this religion, any religion, and you that fucked up in the head, which religion can? How the shooter was 35. He was 35. And I saw a picture of him in the thumbnail. There's a picture of him and a nice looking guy, like a nice looking guy, but he just seemed, he just seemed lost. He just seemed lost in his own mind. The things I've heard written about, he just seemed lost. He left the religion, got kicked out, and he just seemed mentally unstable to me. But then again, like I said, the things that they're describing, I'm like, well, that's kind of normal for a witness. So I guess to the average, to the lay people out there, all witnesses will be a little bit mentally unstable because the things he was writing about the apocalypse, I was saying earlier, well, that's what stuff that Jehovah's Witnesses believe. They do believe Armageddon's going to come, everybody's going to die. Who's not a witness? And then people were like, oh my God, he wrote these shocking things about the apocalypse and people are going to die. I'm just like, that's in the watchtowers all the time. I'm like, so they're not really saying nothing that ain't really been preached or taught by witnesses. So what he was saying in his books wasn't really that shocking to me because I'm like, people just don't understand what Jehovah's Witnesses really believe. A lot of people have no clue. A lot of people don't know any witnesses. They've heard things here and there. They rumors, but a lot of people have no clue. Yeah, read the Bible, it's all there. If you do read the Bible, it is all there. So what the things that Jehovah's Witnesses believe, it's not that far off from what Revelation is saying, because everything that they get regarding Armageddon and the apocalypse and the riding of the 4 horsemen, like they were talking about in the dude's book that he was talking about like COVID and the Ukraine war was all a part of a plan leading to Armageddon. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, so the problem is what now? Because that's what Jehovah's Witnesses believe, that they believe that the 4 horsemen is going to ride, and the 4 horsemen is what? Famine, pestilence, war, and another one, and the other dude, death, blah 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 blah. So what he was writing, I'm just like, that wasn't far off to what Jehovah's Witnesses believe. That's just that it's not far off. Yeah, the 4 horsemen. They think the 4 horsemen is gonna ride. I mean, they're not the only religion, but I'm just saying in this context, what this man was saying about COVID and everything being a omen or a portent of what's coming in the future, and this is part of the 4 horsemen. In this news article I read, they talked about like it was crazy. They was just like, what? He wrote that. Oh my God. I was like, y'all do know that half of the religions in the world believe that, right? Like, I don't know what several articles was just like clutching the pearls over the fact that he wrote about the apocalypse and everybody's gonna die. And I'm just like, do you not understand that other religions believe that as well? That a lot of religions believe that. They may not put that on a poster or put it on a sign in front of their church. Here, come church, come to services on Sunday where you finna figure out that everybody about to die. Witnesses are extreme in their beliefs because they think everybody who's not a witness is gonna die. But there are a lot of religions that are waiting for Armageddon, y'all. They're waiting for the end. They're waiting for Jesus to come back or some shit and smite thee. So the idea that they was making up like this dude's writing was so convoluted and nuts. And I'm just like, no, it's not. It's the shit he was talking about. That's kind of in Revelation, but he was just a bit more detailed with it. So I just found it funny that they was trying to make the book that he wrote to be like super crazy, and I'm just like, it's really not really. He just stole shit from Revelation. he plagiarized the Bible basically. He plagiarized Jehovah's Witnesses teaching. So that wasn't really crazy. So, but yeah, obviously there was something wrong with this guy. He had problems with work. He had multiple lawsuits against his former employer. And I don't know. Like I said, I think they're trying to make him out to be mentally unstable. I don't have any proof that this man mentally unstable. If reading his book, makes him mentally unstable, I don't know how mentally unstable. But I see that they're trying to make this man out like he was already cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But really, the things that they're saying as an XJW, I'm just kind of like, that's not really crazy. That's just kind of normal how they think. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, more people are going to come out. So there's probably was some issue with this man. But then again, like I said, I'm not trying to make excuses for this man, but shunning and losing your whole family and your whole life and your parents and don't want to talk to you and they act like you're dead, that has a heavy psychological effect on people. And a lot of people do not leave this religion because they cannot take the social and psychological and mental toll it has on you to leave. There are a lot of people who stay and shut their mouths and go on the internet and talk their shit because they're afraid if they leave they're gonna lose their whole world. And that is a hard thing. If I knew I was gonna lose my kids and my mama and my grandkids, do you think I would leave the religion? No, I would not. I'm not losing my kids over nothing. I would sit up there in the meetings and I would sit up there and I would go knock on door to door. I would be like, hey, would you like to know about the kingdom of God? Yeah, I would go through all the motions on earth to keep my children with me. I couldn't lose my children. Some people, they don't like living a double life and they don't like living a lie and they didn't like their parents in the first place. So they was like, fuck them pussy assholes anyway. Great. Some people like, I didn't like y'all no way. So fuck all y'all. Like I'm out. But knowing that how I feel about my children and think that if they were 20 something years old and they would stop talking to their mother because I'm not a witness and they are, I would stay. And some people, some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses slam people who are PIMOs, which means physically in, mentally out, PIMO, just in case y'all didn't know the lingo. We have all kinds of acronyms for people, XJW world. But PIMO is the biggest one, PIMO, physically in, mentally out. And then we have people who are POMO, physically out, POMI, physically out, mentally in. There's some people who have left the church, led the witnesses, but they still have the same mentality. And I don't know which one is sadder. But there are people who are still very judgmental, who don't like gay people, who don't like certain things, they still carry the same mentality even though they've left the church. And that's sad. And then you have people who said the hell with this religion. I don't believe in none of this shit, but they go through the motions and go through the meetings because they don't want to lose their families. They don't want to lose their social safety net. And when you go and get psychological help, I don't know about any of y'all, but I know for me, the first thing they ask you, one of the first things they ask you is, who is your support system? It is hard to go get any kind of mental help with no support system. That's one of the first things they ask. Who is supporting you on your journey? Whether it be a weight loss journey, whether it be a mental health journey, whether it be a spiritual journey, whatever journey that you're on that's life changing. Oh no, not Scientology. Oh hell, I know some ex-Scientologists too. I know the T. I know somebody that was up high up in that shit. But anyway, that's another time for another video because I know some ex Scientologists. But anytime you're doing any kind of life changing thing in your life, people, the first thing that's going to be asked is you have to have a support system. Like I said, when you watch these shows, people losing this weight or having cosmetic surgery, like not only just for the physical, but the emotional and the mental. You I tell, look, I go toe to toe with Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons. They don't want none. They don't want none of me because I know more about the Bible and I know more about the Book of Mormon than they do. I've studied Mormonism. I almost became a Mormon at one time, so I know about them too. I have friends that are ex-Mormons, and about that too. They're not as strict as the Jehovah's Witnesses, but but Mormons are racist as I'm gonna do a video. Mormons are racist as fuck. Scientology. I mean, not Scientology. Mormons are racist as fuck. Like it wasn't until the 1970s that they actually believed that black people went to heaven. Like it is a whole damn thing, y'all. I can go in about the Mormons. They don't agree with interracial relationships. They believe that black people are cursed. Yeah, they don't tell you that, but yeah, that's a whole thing. Like for the longest time, they didn't think black people go to heaven. If you're going to get heaven, you're going to be resurrected as a white person. I'm not lying, y'all. I'm not lying. That they don't tell you that, but I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. Telling you the truth. Like they think that you're gonna go to heaven and you be resurrected as a white person because they be that black people have the curse of the curse of Canaan, that we are cursed, that black people are cursed. I don't want to be part of any religion that think that black people are cursed. I'm good on that. We good. I do have to say one thing about Jehovah's Witnesses. I do have to say this. Out of everything that I can say about the witnesses, they really try hard. I mean, you're dealing with human beings, but they really try hard to stamp all that racist bullshit. Witnesses were ahead of the curve when it came to racism. I don't care what anybody say. I know people have experienced all kinds of racism and assignments and the hierarchy, the governing bodies, and the people in New York, where the headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, most of them is white. Is white, bright, nearly white. I know the publications have a lack of diversity and all of that. All of that needs to change. But for somebody who's living in Texas and the amount of racism that I've experienced, um, I can say out of every religion, Jehovah's Witnesses are the least racist religion I've ever dealt with. Like racism is not tolerated. It's not looked upon as something like, oh well, at least not where the congregations that I've gone to in Texas. I know people have other experiences, but where I have been, there's racism everywhere. But out of all the religions, Jehovah's Witnesses are the most welcoming to different cultures, different people. There's Spanish congregations here, people in Africa and Asia and Mexico or wherever they at. You can leave. I can leave. When I was a witness, I could leave Texas and go to Germany. I could leave someplace up and get set up in another country, wherever I choose to be. And then I could be the only black motherfucker in that congregation and people overtly wouldn't, you feel welcome. It's not a sense of like, what's this black person doing here? None of that. If you are a witness and you meet other witnesses worldwide, there is a sense of brotherhood. There is a sense of we in this together. It is like I said, people have other experiences, but I know people who've traveled abroad, who've done missionaries. I know people who've done missions in different countries, and Uganda, Africa, Asia, and black people, white people, they were never looked at by any other witnesses as other than just another brother or sister. Witnesses have worked hard indoctrinating their people that, that we are all God's people, that we are all one people, and that, there's nothing like that. There's no. I've been to other churches and other religions where you hear people say shit and you just like, what the fuck? Like, okay, and maybe not. I'm not talking on the pulpit, not the sermon, but just the people. The black people stay over here, the white people stay over here, and then they don't really associate. Like, and then I've been to all black churches where there's no white people here, and I don't believe in that either. Look, I don't believe in organized religion. Period. I don't believe in God. Period. But I really, for sure, don't believe in organized religion. And then the idea that there are white churches for white people and there's a white Jesus and then there's a black Jesus, I don't believe in none of that. None of that is historically accurate, and none of that is emotionally and mentally accurate. I don't believe that people should be going to churches where there's just white people. I don't believe people should be going to churches and there's just black people. I don't believe in that. I didn't believe in that when I was a Pentecostal living in a black. Now, if you live in a black neighborhood and you go into a black church, I get it. If you live in a white neighborhood and it's white, everybody white in that city and town, okay, I get it. But if you where I grew up in was a very diverse area in Michigan. You grew up in Detroit, there were black churches. Why are there black churches when I see white people in our neighborhood? What churches do I would ask my grandma, what church do they go to? What church they going to, grandmama? Because we don't go to church, we don't go to this church over here. But isn't this the same denomination? Like, don't y'all believe in the same shit? I never understood why that there was such a separation of the races when it came to church. I didn't understand it. So one of the reasons why I did join the Jehovah's Witnesses is because of that. Because when I went to Jehovah's Witness, I was like, well, I can fuck with this. Like, there's black people, there's white people, there's people sitting next to each other. It's not like there's a black section, there's a white section. Because that's how I grew up with. I grew up in an all black church. And I didn't understand why. I was like, and then I had a little white friend. I would go to church with her, and she went to a Catholic church, and there was white people. Then I had a Puerto Rican friend that I went to a Puerto Rican church, and there was various shades of Spanish speakers. Like, I get that there was a language thing there, and then there was Asian churches, Vietnamese churches in Michigan. There's all kind of churches down here too. But I just did language. I understand church divided by language or culture, like the Ethiopian churches. I get it, but I didn't understand for the life of me why white people had white churches and black people had black churches. I said that's wrong. And ain't y'all worshiping the same God, the same Jesus? So y'all been talking about the same shit, but then y'all got to be separated because what? We all speaking English, right? Never understood that. So that's one of the draws that brought me to the Jehovah's Witnesses is that everybody sat next to everybody, and especially being in the South in Texas in the 90s, it was not like that. The other thing that brought me to the witness was the political shit. I do not believe that church and politics should mix. I don't believe that churches should be giving money to political candidates and they involved and they want this to come. I do not believe that Jehovah's Witnesses firmly believe that their reward is going to be on earth and heaven. It has nothing to do with no fucking government. When I was a kid and they told us we didn't have to say the Pledge of Allegiance, I was like, okay, I'm a witness. I don't do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm not a witness and still don't do the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't stand up during national anthems. I don't do none of that. As a witness, I didn't do that. I mean, I'll stand respectfully, but I'm not putting my hand on my heart singing, oh, say, can you see? I don't do that. I know. I'm not pledging my allegiance to no nation and no country. And like I said, that's a holdover from me being a witness because witnesses don't vote. Witnesses, which was a problem for me as I became an activist in my younger years. But what drew me to the religion, that was another thing, because they weren't involved in any type of politics, and I don't think that religion and politics should meet. I think that if you are looking for your reward, it should be in heaven. You shouldn't be. Witnesses are not trying to change America to make America over to some pseudo Christo fascist nation. Great, witness, let sinners be sinners. If you wanna be a sinner, I mean, witnesses there try to proselytize you, convert you over, but if you don't, you don't. If you do, you do. Witnesses are not trying to make America great again. They're not trying to make America into a Christian nation because they don't believe that America, any country, is a Christian nation. They don't never be. That politics and religion don't mix. Matter of fact, Jehovah's Witnesses think that politics and politicians are control of Satan, that they be in control of Satan. There's demonic forces going on in politics, which, again, I don't believe in the devil either, but yes, there are corruptness and things that are dyed in the wool of these governments that is self-serving, and I don't think that anybody or anything can help that or weed that out. Every government is bigger than its people, and it's bigger than the politicians. So, you know, and I agree with Ben. Pulls my teeth said bend the knee, bitch. Yeah, it's like I don't want a religion. I didn't want to be a part of a religion that is forcing everybody to be Christian. I didn't want a world where everybody had to believe the same things that I believe. Even though I was in a strict religion. I tell people that I see it from both sides of the coin. I didn't. Witnesses ain't trying to institute their rules into a law of the land, and where people have to force to do things because witnesses strongly believe in free choice. They believe that you have a choice, you have a calling, that Jehovah's called certain people, and not everybody is called. And certain people just will never be called, and it is what it is. Witnesses firmly believe that, and a lot of religions don't believe that. They believe that, like, if you just create laws and make things that everybody do right, but Jehovah's Witnesses believe that people that are going to do whatever they want to do, and it's your choice whether or not you want to fuck with them or not. And I think that's how it should be. If you don't like somebody's lifestyle, move on. Don't fuck with them. Don't hang out with them. Just go live your life. And that's how my attitude, and that's one thing the witnesses has taught me. Like, let people just do them and live their life. You ain't got to talk to them. You ain't got to associate with them. Just let them go live their life. So that's something I did learn from witnesses. I just let people where they is. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to approve of your lifestyle. There's plenty of stuff that witnesses do not approve of. But you don't see witnesses out there protesting. You don't see witnesses out there talking about, I'm not finna serve this person because they gay. That's one thing witnesses don't do. They just let it be. Make America holy again. Hey, America ain't never been holy. America is one of the most unholiest fucking places on the planet, is America. With our sexualization of children, our guns, our level of drug trade in this country, America, and the fact that y'all didn't came to this land and killed my Native American ancestors. That the hell with that. This land ain't never been holy. Ain't no country ever been holy. Every country is founded on dividing and conquering. I don't care if you're talking about England, Ireland, countries in Africa. Every country is founded on somebody in control, the masses, and then somebody underneath. There's always got to be somebody at the bottom. Somebody got to kick the dog. There always got to be a dog to kick. Always. I don't care what country it is. There's always people in power that want to be in power and control. That's just the name of the game in politics. There's no, until humanity gets over itself, and I doubt it. Like I said, I tell people all day, people can want things and want a utopia all day, but you got to fight human nature, and human nature is oppressive. Human nature is to destroy, is destructive and mean and elitist and separate. Like when they talk in the Matrix, I love the Matrix, y'all. How the agents were saying, well, we created a utopia for you human beings to live in. But every time we created a utopia, people would rise up and destroy it. So they were like, we created this fucked up world because y'all seem to like this fucked up shit. Y'all like this shit. Y'all like the fighting and the wars and the environment, and the environment fucked up because y'all like this shit. We tried to give y'all utopia. But y'all didn't like the utopia. Y'all just complained all the time, and then y'all would rebel against it. So we give you this shit, and y'all seem pretty fucking content with this bullshit. That's a paraphrase of Agent Smith in the Matrix. That the robots took over and they tried to make everything good for humans. And they every time they would have this utopia and everything was good, and they was just okay. We just drain it. Yeah, the Matrix is one of my favorite movies all the time. That human beings they don't want a utopia. Human beings don't want peace. They don't want peace, and they don't want a utopia. Because human nature is to destroy. It is our nature to destroy. I truly believe that we are destructive as species. Like that. Anytime there's peace, we got to come and fuck it up. Like, even in our own lives, even in our own relationships with other people, there are people out there. I mean, there are some people who do want peace. There are people who are very benevolent, very kind, enlightened people, but that's rare. But most human beings, if they have the best situation, the best job, the best life, somehow a human being is like, something's wrong. This is too peaceful. Like, they start thinking shit is wrong when shit's too good. You start dating a man or a woman and they everything you want, and you're like, they got to be doing something. Something has to be wrong. Like, why do we think this way? I've yet to figure that out. I don't have the answers for y'all. I don't have the answers for human beings. We're just gonna. I think human beings are just gonna learn the hard way. All the shit which goes back to the shooter. All this shit with religion and racism and sexism and homophobia and all this stuff. Human beings are going to have to come to the brink of destruction before they figure out, well, this shit really don't really matter, and we're all human beings. Human beings got to be in a survival situation where some motherfucker, like an alien or an asteroid or something comes down here and just destroys and fucks so much shit up that people just going to have to start all over. They're going to recreate whole new societies where people won't care what gender you are. Nobody would care about that when you trying to survive when aliens are enslaving us and taking to another planet and killing us. No one's going to care about that. Now we have time to care and fight over race. I promise you, if we were in a situation where it was just 100,000 human beings and we had to survive, and we are out here or out on another planet or taken somewhere we gotta survive. Nobody's gonna give a fuck whether you're gay or not, or whether you like dick or whether you like coochie. No one's gonna care. No one's gonna care whether you're gay or straight or what God you worship or what God you don't worship. No one's going to care. No one's going to care if you're in a situation where, look, motherfucker, there's 100,000 human beings left and we got to get this shit together. We got to fight for our survival and rebuild something and make sure that we are thrive as a species, Because once people understand that our humanity is not negotiable, then people will see each other's humanity and go, now people villainize people and don't even see people's humanity. But at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We are all people. We have flaws, we have ups, we have downs, we have goods, we have bads. And the things that are dividing us so bad is so stupid in the grand scheme of things. Come 100 years from now, there's going to be non-binary people. There's going to be like Star Trek. No one's going to give a fuck whether you trans or gay or what gender you were originally born with. 100 years from now, motherfuckers going to look back and be like, them backward ass motherfuckers. Just like we do now. When we look about the Salem witch trials and them burning and killing women because they thought they were witches, like we're like, who could be that stupid? But we're that stupid. We're still killing people based on religion. We're still doing that. So it's like, no, we're not burning people at the stake. We're not dunking people in water because we think they're witches and they're consorting with the devil. But we're not that far from it. There's still countries where you can't be certain religions. There's still countries where you can't be gay and they'll arrest you. Like we just think like 100 years ago, we're like them people were so backwards and so weird and why did they do this? Why did they do that? When 100 years from now, people are gonna look back at us and be like, what the hell was wrong with them? Why were they so foolish back then? Like people really was tripping over this gay shit. Like what they tripping on? Like yeah, you're not even allowed to go to Mecca, the whole city, unless you're a Muslim. Yeah, like people still tripping over religion. They like I said, they're not burning people at the stake and drowning them, but the shit they might as well be. In some places they still are stoning people. They still stoning gay people in Saudi Arabia. Like, it's like one day human beings gonna learn and then 200 years from now, people are gonna look back and be like, what was wrong with them? What the fuck was wrong with them? Like, oh, how backwards, because how we think how backwards people were 200 years ago. Like, people were enslaved by slavery. Why were people enslaving people? Why? Why was that considered a moral thing? Because back then it was like, okay, this is what we doing. We enslaving people. That's normal. Now, 500 years later, we're like, that's terrible. Who would think that was a good idea? Just like now, all the shit that we doing, 400 years from now, somebody's going to look back and be like, who the hell thought that was a good idea? Yeah, they're gonna get a laugh at our technology, at our backwards thinking, because time moves forward. Where the people, you can't bring society back. People try it, but time marches forward. You can stop progress. You can slow it down, but it may go fast or slow, just depending on what country or society you in. But you can't stop it. Like the demographics are not in your favor. I tell people, all these people are racist. In America, I'm like, honey, demographics is not in your favor. By 2050, the majority of people in this country are going to be people of color. Like you can fight it, you can do whatever you want to do. Within 100 years, within 100 years, they were saying like 60% of people are going to have some kind of African American ancestry in this country. That they're going to have some African American, Asian, Indian, or Hispanic grandparent. Like 60% of the population, because that's just the way it's going. Our country and our world ebbs and flows with populations. European populations are going down. Indians, a lot of them motherfuckers. Like Indians and African populations are going up. Asian and European populations are going down. In Japan, they can't get people to have babies in Japan. They can't. The future is brown. It is. But it's been going that way for decades. And like I said, you think people don't notice? Of course they notice. You think that the European populations and birth rates are the Asian population and birth rate, even in China, their birth rates are starting to level off. But Japan, Korea, they paying people to get married because motherfuckers, they don't want to get married anymore. They like, well, why are we getting married and having all these kids? And then it's the affordability of it. Yeah, 2076, everyone will be biracial or aliens. Right. So that's what's coming. That's what's coming. India populations are going up. And as Indians spread, people from India, they go to the UK, they go to America, they go here, they everywhere. They go to, they in Africa, they everywhere. Yes, the aliens is coming, girl. The aliens gonna be mixture with it. We're gonna be biracial and bi species. But as time goes on, African population is going up. So all the black and brown people are having lots of babies. Their populations keep going up. So it's like Europe's, so if you're European, your gene pool is tanking. And there's nothing, and like I said, there's nothing you can do about it because Africans and Asians, and East Indians, we went through the same thing. Back 500, 600, 700 years ago, the populations of Europe skyrocketed. And then the populations of Africa and India leveled off or bottomed out. So now it's doing it in reverse. Maybe 1,000 years from now, the Europeans will go back up, and I mean that's just it is what it is. But as people spread the globe, as there's more jobs, people having jobs abroad, and people studying abroad, and intermingling and mixing, it can't. No, they can't keep up with the Latinos. Hell no. Like Latinos, they population is skyrocket. So again, especially here in America, in 100 years, everybody gonna be brown. Everybody gonna be this light shade of brown, dark shade of brown, a mixed dark. Everybody's gonna be various shades of brown. They even did a study. You can look it up on the internet where they said what human beings would look like in 200 years, and they look like they all were brown people because anthropology understands this is where it's going. Anthropologists know, scientists know, historians know. This is where it's going. That the birth rates of brown people is killing it. They're having more babies. I mean, that's just it's simple as that. Whoever has the babies, it will rule the world. It's population that matters, and so people can deny it all they want to, but in particular in America, by 2055, most people are going to have at least one black grandparent or black great grandparent. That's just how it is. This is where birth rates are going. Caucasian, so-called quote unquote white people. I don't. Again, race is a made up shit. Some shit people made up. But European ancestry people, I guess I have to say that because there's no such thing as white people. There's people with European ancestry. Theirs going down. I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part to dilute the gene pool. I've done my part. So I told my kids, it's up to y'all. However my kids are gonna go, I don't know. They may marry somebody black. They may marry somebody Hispanic. They may marry somebody white. But their grandmama gonna be black, and their grandmama gonna be teaching them black shit. So just all day, solid, all day, all day. But I mean, regardless, my grandkids are gonna understand that, and they're probably gonna marry somebody who's brown or Hispanic. I'm in Texas, so we stay here. Most likely, they're probably gonna marry somebody Hispanic or Indian. There's a lot of Indians here. There's not a lot of Asians where we live. And white folks, but quote unquote European-based people. I guess I say there's African people, African-based people, European-based people. Because again, race is a construct, right? Somebody made up. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we're all a mixture of all different kinds of things. I've had DNA tests done for my kids, my husband, my late husband, everything. White people they do a white flight. They ain't got no place to go. Where they gonna go? Europe? Europe is made Sweden shit. The African people in Sweden, they everywhere. I'm like these people trying to keep these people out their country. They're trying to keep the Syrians out. They're trying to keep the Indians out. They don't. Well, there's too many of them. Like, just face it. I've never had this attitude where there's just too much of somebody else, somebody somewhere. It is what it is. Your society change is never easy, but it's necessary and it's inevitable. Change is inevitable. I tell people no matter what they want to think, change is inevitable. Do you think the UK of the 1800s was the UK of the 1600s? It was not. It was not. Like what country has stayed the same all these years? It has not. No country on earth, no people, no DNA has stayed the same in 5, 6, 700 years. It just doesn't happen. It may be the Queen of England, the royal family are rule, but the UK now was not the UK in 1910, in 1920. 2023 UK is not 1923 UK. It wasn't 1823. It wasn't 1623. It's never going to be. Europe is not the same Europe it was 100 years ago. And the people 100 years ago complained about shit. In 1923 in Europe, they was complaining about bullshit then. Like, oh my God, this wasn't the Europe it was in the 1800s. 2023. Well, this wasn't the Europe it was 100 years ago. Fast forward, 2123. Them motherfuckers gonna be like, well, it ain't nothing like it was in 2023, bitch, because time changes. Things move on. It's never going to be the same as your parents' generation, your grandparents. You adapt and evolve and change. You move on. Like there's nothing will ever be the same. You can't stay stagnant. America is not the same America it was 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Keeps marching on. 100 years from now, if we would time travel, we come back to America, wouldn't even recognize it. We'd be like, what is this? Who is this? What is this? People from 50, 60 years ago who died 50, 60 years ago, they would see our America and wouldn't even know what the fuck they were looking at. Yes, and there's nothing new under the sun. The biggest constant is that time keeps changing. Time marches on. Life changes and life marches on. If you are thinking that things are going to stay the same forever for you, things can stay the same in your world and your family. You shape your future, but you can't control society into being what you want it to be because you're going to get disappointed every time because human beings are always going to rise up and fight against shit. History ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows. They're people that want to rise up and be conservative and take us back to let's take it back to where it was in the 50s. You'll never go back. You'll never, no matter how much you wanted to, you'll never go back. It just won't because the things that made life it was 50, 60 years ago doesn't exist in our time. So people may try to make it that way, but it'll never work because human nature is always going to rise up and be like, well, we done with this. Let's move on. Because people want to move on. No matter how far people try to take us back in this country, we will never go back. Like we black people, I know for a fact I'm not going back. Fuck what y'all heard. I'm never going back. I'm never going back to where it's 1950s, 60s where they want black people to be in our motherfucking place. It's not gonna happen. I'm not a step and fetch it kind of Negro who's just gonna stay in her place. That don't work for me. Sorry. That don't work for me. That don't work for me. That didn't work for my ancestors. My ancestors was the type that was on the plantation starting shit every day. It was burning, setting fires, doing, poisoning people's food. That would be my ancestors. I tell people every day, my ancestors are clan killers, honey. Clan killers all day. I told somebody that they looked at me, I was crazy. I told my kids, you go to school and tell them people, our ancestors are clan killers. We in the history books, bitch, in North Carolina. Lowry War, look it up. Lowry War. The Lowry people in North Carolina is my people, and we killed Confederates and we killed KKK members because we weren't having that shit in our county. They weren't having that shit back in the day because they wanted to end the lives of our people, and they started the guerrilla for years. They never caught my ancestors. They never caught that motherfucker. So yeah, look it up in the history books. I said we come from a long line of Confederate killers, baby. Like we don't play. Our ancestors did not play back then, and we don't play now, honey. North Carolina, y'all know what's up. Lowry Ward, those are my ancestors. Those are my people. Okay, Lowrys, those are my people. And we did not play, baby. My great grandmother was a Lowry. She did not play. She taught her kids not to play. She escaped North Carolina and came to Mississippi because she had to escape, baby. Because them Confederate clan motherfuckers was on their ass trying to wipe out their whole family. So a lot of them dispersed and left. And my great grandmother was a Lowry and she left. And she was biracial and she left because she had to leave North Carolina. Her and her mama left because they had to leave. And they were basically chased out of North Carolina because the Klan was on their ass. And then their whole family dispersed because they was on their ass. Even though the Lowry War, quote unquote, ended according to Wikipedia, it ended, but it didn't end. It didn't really end. It still kept going. In some ways, it's still going, but it still kept going, and they had to leave. So that's the anecdote. Yeah, I come from amazing, amazing people. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. But as I always do, because y'all come on here and we be talking about shit, and y'all, you get it. But that's what I had to say. So I know, like I said, this video is longer than what I thought it was gonna be. I'm supposed to go work out, y'all, but my mama keep calling me, talking about you ain't gonna work out yet. I'm like, oh, and I gotta go pick up some kids because it's spring break. So y'all know how it is. I gotta go pick up these children. It's spring break. I gotta go pick up these kids, girl. I gotta go pick up these kids. Anyway, it's spring break. My kids are on spring break. I gotta go pick up some other kids that gonna be with me during spring break. So y'all keep me in your thoughts and prayers. I deal with these children. I have to go to the Japanese store today because I have a box to make for my customer. Because I make anime boxes and Japanese food box. Like I make anime K-pop boxes for people that I sell on the internet. At my Etsy shop, by the way. Bang bang. I'll put links to my Etsy shop. Y'all support the channel. But but yeah, I make these K-pop anime boxes that have like Japanese food in it, Korean food. I go to a Japanese store, I get authentic stuff and put it in there, and not none of this top ramen shit, y'all. Y'all be eating real curry, real ramen. Anyway, y'all have a good day. GSP, what pulls my teeth? Bobby, Nisi G, all the usual suspects. I promise y'all, I'm gonna get to my 600-pound life. I promise y'all. Thank you, Nisi G. You had to go get your granddaughter dressed. Have fun with the kiddos. Oh yeah, yep. It's gonna be fun. But y'all have a good day. I'm gonna try to get out here and walk later on, and then I'm gonna try to do my 600-pound life. I'm still trying to work on it. Y'all, I live a very busy, hectic ass life, so I'll be trying to do these videos. But y'all have a good day. Like the video, like, share, subscribe. I'm gonna be back later. I'll edit the video and put links in the news articles and links to things that I read online about this man. But y'all have a good day. Bye.